monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Notice what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host, as always, Corey, and alongside me is my good pal, Tony. What's going on, brother?
Not much, Corey. How you been, bro?
I've been good. Working and having some time off and enjoying some films.
There you go.
Pretty much about it. I'm excited. We're into the Christmas season.
We are indeed. Yes, absolutely. And I've already started watching some stuff, so right, like as soon as we got into December, I started popping in some Christmas horror.
Nice.
Ready for it, man. Was anticipating it. Was excited about it. So as soon as I could, I popped it in. I popped in. Don't open till Christmas. Can't wait to just. Every year that movie I have to watch it. It's a blast. But yeah, I've watched that. Silent Night, Deadly Night. We already covered that one. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those two staples that you got to watch around this time of year.
Yeah, definitely. I was actually looking on Shudder, and there's not a whole lot of selection when it comes to it. Of course, they do have all the Silent Nights on there, which blew me away.
Yeah.
But they do have Christmas Evil. I was going to watch that. I've never seen that.
It's so funny you just talked about. It's so funny you brought that up because I just watched that too, and I was going to tell you we need to cover that on the show because it's a really, really interesting horror film. Very much, very exciting. Well, I don't even want to spoil anything. You haven't seen it before, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut, not say a word.
Next episode?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I can watch it. It's really, like I said, don't want to say anything. Want to hold off.
Perfect. Well, I'm good with watching that if you are.
Yep. Same here.
But folks, before we get started on our review, make sure that you head over to our Facebook group where we do have a live, well, I wouldn't say live, but it is a suggestion box open right now. So make sure you drop your suggestions in there for a Christmas horror film. And we'll obviously do a drawing. We'll pick a winner and everything. So, and then that winner will get a prize. So just head over there and pop in your suggestion. We would greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely would.
Tony, so what film are we covering today?
So we are covering 2011's Cadaver Christmas. That's what we're covering tonight. It's a little zomcom, I guess is what they call them, which is a very, I don't know, I've never really been a big fan of that. It's just
Cadaver. Yeah,
Cadaver. Yeah, exactly. That's a running gag in this movie is anytime to call them zombies. The janitor's the one that wants to call them cadavers. It's like very adamant about them just being cadavers, which is a good little running gag in this movie. So basically, the plot is basically we follow our main character, who is the janitor, who works at this local college. And first we start off in a bar where this guy is really depressed and he's already hammering them down and drinking heavily. And he's kind of talking to the bartender and they're, just going back and forth. And he, you can tell he's really down. The holiday season's got him down. And then all of a sudden the janitor pops in and he's got blood all over him. And he's like, I need to go to the bath. I need to beeline straight to the bathroom. He's like, yeah, the bathroom's back there. And then he goes in there, he comes back out, he tries to leave, and the guy's like, well, you can't just come in here and use the bathroom and not buy anything. He sits down at the bar, and he talks, and they're like, well, what the hell's up with you, man? Why are you covered in blood? What's going on with you? So he proceeds to tell them what's been going on at the college, and after he explains everything to him, a cop busts in, and, he This movie just starts right away, man. There's just no hanging around. It just jumps straight into it. It's very frantic and chaotic. And the cop takes him. He's like, "Well, I'm going to investigate what's going on at the college. So you're coming with me." And then they all decide to go. And basically, they're dealing with a zombie outbreak at this college, a ragtag group of individuals. And that's basically it's the simple plot, basically.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I said, it starts off right away. It does not ease in. It just goes straight into it, and we're like, oh shit. And, you as the viewer is like, man, we're just diving straight into this bad boy.
Yeah.
Which when we talked about it, I know this is the first time watch for me. I've never seen this movie before. You kind of talked, you kind of recommended it, and were talking to me about it. And I always thought this was a British film for some reason. I don't know why. I heard of this before, but in my
Well,
mind, I thought it was a British comedy for some odd reason. I don't know why.
I guess maybe because the start of it's like in a pub, or setting is in a pub.
Like a bar, yeah.
Yeah.
But when
I,
when we started it, and there was the news anchor, and of course they had, they did not have British accents. They were speaking very well. You could tell this is American film. But
mhm.
I just completely subverted my expectations. I did not expect that. I went in thinking it was a British zombie, like in the vein of Shaun of the Dead,
Mhm.
basically, where I was going with that. But no, it's not at all. It shares more along the lines with the Evil Dead, in a sense. There's a lot of nods in this movie. Like I said, we've been on a roll where we're watching a lot of these indie films that homage left and right, like constantly.
Did you notice there was an Evil Dead poster in one of
Yes.
the scenes? Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, even our main character, the janitor, is he's he's playing it off like Ash. I mean,
Mhm.
to a T. I mean, he's definitely, you can tell the influence is there.
It wouldn't have surprised me if his name was like Cash
Cash,
or something, like ripping off Evil Dead. You know?
Cash Wilkins or something. That would have been
Yeah.
hilarious.
He reminded me so much of Ash. You know?
Yeah,
So.
definitely. That definitely noticed that right out the gate. Like I said, when you pay a little attention to little nuances in this movie, you can see different callbacks to
Mhm.
classic horror and horror movies that we love to death. So, um, yeah, I mean, what do you think, man? What are your initial thoughts on this one? I think have you seen this one before, or is this another first time watch for you?
Yeah, so I saw it years ago. I actually and I'm hoping that we're not talking about the same copy, but I totally bought a copy from Eric, which is our local store, like years ago though.
Mhm.
And I love this movie. I enjoyed it when I first watched it, and I was kind of big into the Zomcom type deal because right around the same time you had like Cockneys versus Zombies come out.
Yeah,
You had a lot of like a whole slew of zombie films come out around that time, 2011, 2012. There was a fuck ton of them. And it was just like off the wall, dumb comedy ones.
yeah.
Um,
It was almost oversaturated, um, with how many were coming out at the time. I was like, damn, even good ones were hard to find because it was just
there
they
was
were
some there was some really good ones that did slip through the cracks, though,
cracks. Yeah,
you know. Um, but yeah, for the most part, I loved this movie when it first came out because like I said, I picked it up. And I think what drew me in really was like the grindhouse effect. The whole
yeah.
film went through a grindhouse effect, and it was like it worked for this movie.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
usually I'm not, I like it in some aspects, but then I I was originally I was under the impression they were going to use toward the beginning and not use that throughout the entire film. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. 'Cause I honestly did not think that was going to happen. There's a lot of moments where I was like, oh wow, I was expecting one thing and then another thing happened. So I was like,
Hmm.
it kept me on my toes, so to speak,
Yeah.
for a first time watch. But like I said, it sounded like the voices were dubbed, which was hilarious. I always get a kick out of that. Going back, talking about Italian horror films, there's a lot of dubbing, and sometimes it's unintentionally hilarious, and then sometimes it's got a charm to it.
Hmm.
And when this first started out and I heard those voices, I was like, oh man, we're gonna do that. Okay. So yeah, that was a pleasant surprise, man. But like I said, yeah, I was surprised, man. I honestly did not think that this was an American film. I thought it was a British film, and then maybe it's because what you brought up, the oversaturation of the market at the time with all the, even just zom-coms in general. There was tons of them. So for me, I have no idea why I always thought this was British, but I did, and to find out that it wasn't was kind of a surprise. But the filter, I will, go back to that. The filter was pretty cool. That the grindhouse filter that they put over it.
Yeah.
And the scratches, and it looked like the.
Yeah, it had the cigarette burns, and then often you almost saw almost like the whole reel shifted at one point.
Yeah,
I thought
definitely
that was cool.
Absolutely did notice that. But like us, going into it was interesting. Checking this out first time. One thing about it was it wasn't gelling with the characters too much, because it got a little bit too much when the cop and the janitor were just going back and forth, constantly arguing, fighting. Constantly.
The banter.
Oh, dude, it came to a point where I was like, oh man, like it started getting daunting on me. So I was, like I said, there was some characters that I really, really didn't enjoy. But overall, the characters were really one of my main deterrents from this one. The comedy too was a little, for me, some worked, some jokes worked, and some didn't. There was moments where I was genuinely laughing because of something that happened, and then there's some that was like, okay, I know that your intention is to get a laugh out of the audience, but that joke just didn't land, or that didn't work. Something just wasn't gelling. It's just like that for everybody. Everybody's got different tastes. Comedy and horror are very similar in that aspect, where everybody's taste is different. But I don't know, man. It's just interesting the way the hectic, frenetic pace of the movie with those characters too kind of just help it carry along. And that's why there's a certain point when the film just kind of slowed down, when we're with the professor character, which is one of my favorite characters, when he's doing the experiments, getting into, what the root cause of why the cadavers are coming back to life, and why there's an outbreak in this college is because of this professor doing experiments. That at that point in the film, I was really, really enjoying it because it kind of slowed down for a minute. It kind of just took its time and kind of laid out a little bit more of the story in a more fluid motion. And I just like that character too, that professor character. Reminded me a lot of Dr. Frankenstein from Day of the Dead.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Little Dr. Frankenstein with a little bit of Herbert West.
I was about to say it's like a perfect mix between the two.
Perfect comedy. Yep. And I think, I love those two characters very much. So that's maybe why I drew to that character so much, and why he is my favorite character in the movie.
Okay.
But I mean, what about you, man? Did all the jokes land for you? I mean, did it hold up?
There, I went into this fully critiquing it because I have seen this movie before. So, like I said, from the past, I had fun with it in the past. I knew what it was going to be. going into it and watching it, I didn't remember everything because it had been a few years since I've seen it.
Mhm.
But you know, the jokes, they do work with me. Um, when I'm looking for a zomcom that I want to sit down and laugh at, I don't get me wrong, Shaun of the Dead, and people might kill me for this, but Shaun of the Dead is what it is. It pretty much started it, you know. Um, at least from England. Um, Not a huge fan of that movie.
Same
You
here.
know, not like Cockneys versus Zombies.
That's
That
my
movie's funny. I love that
Yep.
movie. It's
Mhm.
hilarious.
Same here.
Um, you know, over here in America, all that started a new one. Now we've got Zombieland. Now we've got Zombieland 2. Watch both of those movies. I don't really care about those movies.
Same
I'll
here.
watch them if they're on TV because that's, you know, it's a zombie, and I'll sit there with my wife and I will watch it. But I'm not into it. Um, this was the epitome of an American zomcom for me.
Yeah.
I loved it. So the jokes, they do work for me. Some of them are a little bit boring. Like it's like almost they try to you know, I'm sorry. It's funny that you sit here and say that you going into it you thought it was a British film because some of the jokes in it are very dry like British humor.
Yep. Hmm.
You know, so there again, is it heavily influenced by British comedy?
Could have been. Yeah.
Possibly. And that might be what you're feeling. Like that's why some of the jokes might not work for you. I love that kind of comedy, so I eat it up every time.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Um,
I'm 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 really big on dry comedy too. I gravitate to that stuff. That like there's a scene in the movie where um there's a lot of there's a lot going on, and then they wait on the elevator, and they're just
that
standing. That works for me. That kind of stuff works
I
for me.
loved it. I
I
love
wish
that.
there was more of that in the movie, honestly, because that shit made me laugh. I love that. And the guy's like, "Hey, man, there's a staircase right here. We can use that." And the drunk guy's like, "No, no, we'll
We were
wait."
waiting on this elevator.
Yeah, yeah, that shit worked for me. I was digging the hell out of that, but
Yeah.
just wish there was more of that, man. I was craving that, more of that dry, like just situational humor.
Mhm.
There's another scene that made me genuinely laugh out loud is when they were uh they were in that room with the girl who's, I guess she's the head of not the head of security, but she's like runs the security desk, and she like takes calls before they go to 911 to make sure that they're worthy of going to 911. So
Yeah.
so she meets them with her characters. She forms up with the characters, and they're in a room, and there's a perp, and he's a very obnoxious dude, and they just get an. I mean, they basically like, all right, I've had enough of you. He's like, well, someone. I think he said, well, someone shut him up, and she walks across the room and smacks him in the face. That scene had me. I was
I was rolling.
I was that was one of the funniest moments in the movie for me. I look because it lingered on her walking across the room and then just smacking the shit out of him. Very good. That is the kind of comedy that works for me.
Yeah.
I love
Oh
that.
man, that was good.
Mhm.
But the whole bit where he was like, it was so funny because so you find out that he's not a perp, he's pervert.
Oh yeah.
And apparently he was having sex with his goat, was
Mhm.
it,
Yeah,
or
that made me.
something? But then like he was like, well, you know, she has a name, you know, it's Betsy or something. So then when the cop is like spilling the beans about his dog and how he was a canine cop and everything, the perp in the background goes, oh. He was like, I love that animal, and he was like, oh. It's like so sick.
Yeah.
What did you think about him raping the zombie corpse?
He, it's it felt like it was put in there just for shock value. I don't know.
Yeah.
It really service the plot at all. It was just one of those random things that sometimes they just put in movies to elicit, like, oh, I can't believe they would go there. I can't believe they went.
They went that far.
They went that far, yeah. I don't know. But
Please go watch a German splatter film, and then come back.
right, exactly. But I don't know, man. He that character had stuff happen, but then it's also is like I don't know. Some of the stuff was with him wasn't working for me personally.
So you didn't feel bad when he was bait?
No, not at all.
Oh, that was fucking brutal.
It didn't elicit that for me, man. I don't know why. I didn't connect with it. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's hard to explain, really. It didn't pull me in.
So what exactly happened? Like the janitor was like, "We need to make a getaway," and then he like breaks his leg and leaves him to die. Fucking walks away. That's brutal, dude. I mean, that's as a human being, that's brutal.
Yeah. But I don't know, because it was so comedic, it didn't really hit that hard, because of the comedy. If it was more serious in tone, and these people were like, if it was almost like Day of the Dead, where these people are really getting at each other's throats, you can tell that's what they were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But there's too much. It was almost like it's hard to pull that off if you're trying to do a straight. I will give Shaun of the Dead credit. I do find that movie a little bit overrated, but they do mix that whole comedy with, and then they'll take a serious moment and they'll really make it, like when, spoiler alert, I don't know if anyone's out there has seen Shaun of the Dead or don't want it spoiled, but if you do, just don't listen to this part. But yeah, when he's serious about his mom getting bit at the end, and then that it changes, it shifts, and it's really, really sad and dramatic and stuff like that, and that worked because I don't know that. I mean, you have Edgar Wright, who's a great director, and he was able to, and Sean Pegg, or Simon Pegg, yeah, I don't know why I said Sean, because his name's Sean in the movie. Yeah, Simon Pegg, he's really good, man. He pulls that emotion off.
He is a good actor. I will say that.
So, and I'm not harping on the acting in this movie, not at all.
No.
I think I love the janitor. The janitor was great.
Mm-hmm.
His seriousness and him trying to pull off that Ash Williams was working. It was
on point. Yeah, I dug with all the characters, or I guess you would say all the actors, because the acting was on point.
Mm-hmm.
You did get a feel for it. It is, I believe, it's a lower budget film. I mean, I imagine it is, but you don't, like, I don't feel that way about the acting one bit. When you go to sit down and watch a lower budget film, you know what you're getting yourself into. I mean, we just covered a whole month of Todd Sheets, and there was some pretty bad acting in those movies.
Oh yeah.
But I mean,
acting?
I couldn't pinpoint one bad actor in this movie. I mean, even down to the zombies. The zombies were cool. Cadavers.
Right. Which is another thing with movies. I don't know why they can never. But I get it in this movie. I'm not harping on it for this movie, but there's some films out there that they can't ever say zombie in the film. I don't know why. They cannot do it. It's like, oh, you can't say that. You can't say zombie in this film. It's a fucking zombie film. Say it. Don't be don't. I don't know, man.
Kind of like The Walking Dead. Oh, they're walkers.
Yeah,
no, they're zombies. They're fucking zombies. They died. They came back. Now they want to eat your goddamn brain. They are zombies.
This movie does do a good job of saying, hey, they were kind of debating whether these were actual zombies or not, because there's, it was.
That's right, because there was a tone on. It was actually not. It was a parasite.
Parasite, right? And
it was a worm parasite, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the people that were bit didn't necessarily die, but they turned.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like the fact that they said, hey, the ones that are bit that aren't dead are more dangerous because their sensories are still high because they just passed on, versus the ones that have been dead for a while who've kind of like leveled out, and
Mhm.
they're not dangerous anymore. Their receptors are not.
Which is kind of funny because a parasite doesn't. Well, I mean, a parasite doesn't kill its host.
Mhm.
Parasite tries to keep the host alive as long as possible, so wants to feed off of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting. Interesting the way they went about it. So it's almost like an infected film too, in a sense.
Mhm.
Essentially, they are infected with the parasite, and some of them are technically still alive, like the chick that got bit, and I guess the guy that ran the bar or had the bar. That
Eddie.
thing, yeah, Eddie, our burly bartender.
I think we need to go over names real quick.
Yeah, yeah,
So, because it's funny, it is funny. So you've got the janitor. I didn't list off all the names. The the drunk at the bar, his name is Todd Tunenbum.
definitely.
Uh, the deputy that got fired, his name is Sam Sheriff. Um, and then here's two classy names. So the bar owner or the bartender or whatever, Eddie,
Eddie.
just
Just
Eddie. And then last but not least, your pervert, the perp. That's it.
yeah, just keeping it simple,
Hmm.
real simple. yeah.
Yeah, this movie was from start to finish just a ride, you know, everything about it.
hmm I,
Mm.
I kind of wish that they kept up with and I know it's a lower budget film, so I can't harp on it for that too much, but I kind of wish they kept up with the zombie, like the carnage, because there was a
Mhm.
little lull in the film where it wasn't happening, and it's really driven on the characters and the character development and them at each other's throats fighting and just bickering back and forth and to a comedic effect too. It's not like straightforward and serious. No, they're cracking jokes and they're with the dialogue as well. So it's kind of still lighthearted, but they're still at each other's throats and they can't get along. And it's so much like it wants to be Day of the Dead, but it can't help but throw jokes and jokes and jokes and jokes
Mhm.
constantly. I mean, it is zomedy, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. So it's kind of like the tone shifts a little bit constantly, and it doesn't really know what it wants to do. It wants to, because there's even a scene with our patron at the bar, the guy his name's Tom,
Mhm.
I think. Yeah, where at the end it kind of wants you to feel an emotional connection to this guy,
Mhm.
because having a moment with another character, so you're kind of supposed to feel the emotion of the scene and stuff like that. Like he's kind of, he's down and out and stuff like that, really depressed around the holidays, and really, the people that he's with are his only real friends, and it's wanting to kind of to get that emotion out of you and stuff like that. And I mean, yeah, it could work, but just with his concept, I think the best thing was that he was drunk pretty much throughout the entire movie, and he was just a drunk slob the whole time.
He was like worthless.
Yeah,
It was
which
like
to the movie's
well,
credit comes into play. So
it was really funny because like the moment where like he, like there's a whole fuck ton of like zombies coming through, right? They barricaded themselves up like a barricade in the hallway, and like he handed him prior to that, he handed him lights, and he was like, "Go figure out what you need to do with these." And like so at one point he sees like water and stuff, and they're the zombies are in the water, and he was like, "Quick, go plug in the lights." He plugs in the lights, and the lights come on the walls, and he's like, "You were supposed to put it on the floor to electrocute them," and he was like, "Yeah, but I put them on the walls to distract them." And then he was like, "But it doesn't seem to be working."
yeah,
That's funny.
yeah,
Yeah, I like the whole scene where he pulls him into a closet, and he's like basically puppeteering the janitor while the janitor's passed out.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
which did you catch the guy that just randomly came out of nowhere and fucking hit him with a stapler?
No.
Exactly. That happened. It happened so fucking quickly. Cause like I went to go write down a note and I like
Yeah.
look up and he was like on the ground and then the guy's like frantically moving with a stapler and I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
I was questioning that because, like, what happened? Because like I said, I was probably writing a note because that happens sometimes. If something happens real quick and I'm in the process of writing something down, I'll miss it. I won't know what happened unless I rewind it or go back. And yeah, at that point, I didn't know what happened. I just know he was knocked out. And I was like, well, what the fuck? What
Well,
happened?
you see him go up and he steals a stapler from the security booth, right? Like there's a scene where you see him walk into the security booth because she calls 911 and the phone's just ringing where she would be at her desk.
Yeah.
And this guy walks up and he grabs the stapler and wanders off. And then later on in the film, you see him knock out the janitor with the fucking stapler. And
Yeah.
then in the credits, like after the credits are rolling, I don't know if you watched past the credits, but as I was watching the credits, little news feeds was popping up, and they were doing news about what was going on at the college and stuff. And as they were doing like a news feed, somebody's standing there talking like a reporter, and you just see the guy with with the stapler walk up, and he was like, oh, and then turned around and walked out of frame.
Missed that part. I did like the end though. The end did work for me.
Of the burning of the bodies, or
No, well, everything that happened, them getting spoiled, locked up. Yeah, I dug all that. It's really down for the. It's not the ending you would expect.
if you watch past the credits, yeah, they got arrested and everything. But if you watch past the credits, you hear the cops talking about going to the bar, and they went to the bar and they were like, oh, there's people chained up in here. Let's let them loose. Zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then they're still locked up. The janitor and Tom still locked up in the police station, and zombie cops bust in, and that's the end of the credits. And it's like, oh man, come on.
What makes you wonder why there was never a sequel?
Yeah.
Because I know I even looked at the credits, and this is the director's only feature film, so never was able to do it. And this came out in 2011, so there's a few years. I mean, and
he's made I think a total of 5 films. One was a short. Yeah, I think the latest came out in either 2017 or 2019. But yeah, this is pretty much like the only horror film.
Wow.
Which is crazy because it's such a pretty cool film. You know?
Yeah.
The guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Like I said, technically on an indie level, yeah, everything was working. Everything from the cinematography to the way, like I said, they used the pop filter on, make it give that grindhouse kind of aesthetic. I mean, that was pretty cool. Like I said, I didn't expect. I thought they were kind of incorporated in the beginning and then kind of veer off. But no, they kept it throughout the film, so that was pretty unique. Yeah, I did. One of my favorite things in the whole movie was seeing that fucking Big Trouble in Little China, that Jack Burton shirt. Fucking love that because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So when I saw that, that's what I'm talking about. I love that. Really, really dig that. Because I mean, like I said, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, of all movies you reference this one. That it's not a zombie film. It's not a zom-com. So it's interesting that they reference it in this movie. Yeah. Maybe that was a big fan too. Well, he has to. It has to be. Quick reference like that, but yeah, I loved the hell out of that. I was like, that's fucking cool, man. Jack Burton's fucking tank top, man.
There was some pretty cool nods in this film.
Yeah, it was, man. If
Yeah.
you pay attention, you definitely can.
Because I even like the original cadaver zombies or whatever.
Mhm.
They just looked so simple. They were in gowns, they had toe tags on, and
Yeah.
then they just had some black around their eyes. And it's like, man, I mean, I was getting the Beyond vibes, on
Yeah,
those zombies. I was like,
absolutely.
dude, that's Fulci right there.
Yeah,
There's a
dude.
lot of there was a lot of nods in this film.
Yeah, there's a ton, man. Like I said,
Yeah.
Evil Dead, definitely,
A
definitely.
major one, yeah.
Some Reanimator in there too.
Yeah, because
Some,
there's one scene of all colors they could have chose, they chose green. And granted,
yeah,
it wasn't the right neon green. It was like a dark green, but you could definitely distinctly tell it was a green, fluid. And he actually held it up like this in front of the camera,
yeah,
and it's like, come
yeah,
on.
absolutely, dude. Yeah, that was definitely intentional.
Mhm. A lot of it was. Yeah,
Let's see
I had a
here.
blast. I had a blast with it. I like the fact that he went to go, like, Tom was like ready to die because he was like, well, there's only going to be one zombie left, and that's when at this point you find, the janitors found out that he actually likes Tom, you know, and so, like, he was gonna off Tom with the shovel because Tom, told him to.
Yeah,
Um,
because
and then that's
seemed that.
when he was like, wait a minute. Okay, when were you bit, and stuff like that, and that's when he realized that liquor is essentially what I wouldn't say kills, but hinders the parasite from entering the body. So he got away with that one. Just a
Yep,
cool little scar, I guess.
yep. Which I guess the bartender was not drinking his own supply
Mm.
to get infected, so he was
Talk
not
about
in a little bit.
what about some of the zombies? Did you like? So what did you think about some of the zombies in this film?
No, like the zombie carnage and stuff like that, I loved. I just wish there was more of it. They
Yeah,
kind of tailed away from that a little bit, and I was like, man, I get it. Kind of, they probably couldn't afford a lot of the effects and everything like that, so they
yeah.
had to kind of do with what they had. But man, it was so cool that I wanted a little bit more of it. Uh, Unfortunately, but like the zombies are great. I love the scene when the dude. Oh, and I didn't even bring this. I'll bring this up after I make this point. Um, I love the fact that I think it was the janitor takes a Christmas tree and plows it through one of the zombies.
Dude,
That
that's
was
so cool.
which which I give this film credit for. They really utilize Christmas in this movie. Like
Mm.
even there's a motif where they're always constantly hearing a Christmas song or they're singing a Christmas song. Something Christmas is going on in the background. And I'll give the film credit. They wasn't just like a one off like, oh, it just takes place around Christmas.
Yeah,
It's just one of those things. No, they really
which they clearly do say that this is taking place on Christmas. They said it several times. But
exactly.
like to your point, the fact that they bring it up throughout the film,
Yeah, like you hear the Christmas music in the elevator. There's a
mm,
characters that are humming a Christmas song.
sitting on the
Um,
shitter, whistling it.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's that constant, like you're constantly reminded that it's taking place on Christmas.
Hmm.
So that I give them credit for that it wasn't just like this one-off gag, like that they're it just takes place on Christmas, but they don't reference it too much. Yeah, they did. They referenced it a lot, and it was an ongoing thing throughout the movie, which I thought was
Hmm.
great. But yeah, I wanted to mention that. I almost skipped over that on my notes, but yep, I did enjoy that film. Like I said, it starts off quick, man. Starts off fast.
Yeah.
Then it ramps up. I just wish it would have. Ah, man, I wish I would have saw a little bit more zombie carnage, especially like in the middle. Where there's scenes of character development and stuff like that.
Well,
All
you
the
have that whole like church choir that apparently got fucked up by zombies, but you never see it
yeah,
until there they are and they're fucking up people.
and even the I can't remember. Did you see? Because the professor brings some of his students in because he doesn't quite know what's going on and he needs their help. But do you see what happens to them, or is it just like referenced?
No, you don't see them until they're coming in to the fight in the hallway.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're with the choir,
Mhm.
and they're running down the hall, and that's when he references, "Oh shit, these zombies are faster."
Yeah.
And that's when he sits there and says, "These aren't cadavers. These are zombies."
Yes, finally.
Yeah.
Thank you for referencing it. We need more of that. I don't know why. I don't know why films are so scared to reference zombies and knowing that they're zombie films. I never.
Yeah.
But,
But yeah, I don't know. I think some of my favorite zombies in the film though is well, I do like the one zombie where he gets up and he's got what is it, like Christmas ornaments stuck in his face. That's cool. And then of course you got Eddie, the Eddie zombie, where he's got a desk sticking through him. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
He was like walking around and there was just a desk through him.
Guy with the, like I was telling you, the guy with the plunger in his eye, the zombie with the plunger in his eye was good.
That's pretty dope.
Very memorable.
I like how he was just walking around bitch slapping zombies with a mop though. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, it was a good suggestion.
Yeah, man. I definitely didn't hate the movie. Let's say I did
I
not.
thought, well, I thought you had seen it. Honestly, I thought you had it in your collection. Because
No, I never.
I told you about this movie like years ago. I was like, yeah, this is a good one.
It was probably gone. I think I went back too because I was even getting zombie films at that time. I was picking up a couple because I was, when you're a horror fan, you get in your mood. You want to watch certain
Mhm.
subgenres and stuff like that. That happens. But I went back, I think, to see if it was there, and we're talking about Eric's, of course. But I did not see it. Probably,
So I
probably
bought
some,
it.
yeah, probably some. It was probably around that time that sale because he has those 50% off sales, and usually stock is depleted. Like people will come in there
Yeah.
and buy away. So
They'll hold
missed.
up like a copy of Nightbreed for $10. Is this any good?
Yeah, right.
No, put
Yeah,
that shit down so I can buy it.
no, because I did not have it in the collection. So
Oh,
yeah,
crazy.
did not have it. But luckily, Tubi, it's on Tubi, folks.
Hmm.
If you want to check it out and you're in the mood for a Zomcom, it is on Tubi for free. You can check
It
it
is.
out. A couple ads, but like I said, for free, can't really complain.
Yeah. I actually watched. I have a Blu-ray copy now. Um, yeah. Horror Pack actually sent me a Blu-ray copy, and it was their exclusive. I
Cool,
think
man.
actually. Yeah, I think.
Oh, oh, you got it with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, there it is.
That
I love
cover's
it.
so cool.
Yeah, the cover that they have on the DVD is fantastic, man. That painted artwork.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what turned me on to it.
yeah, it shows on not IMDb. I'd go at IMDb too, but on Letterboxd, if you pull it up and you do your rating and stuff like that, it's on there with the painted artwork. Looks fantastic.
Hmm.
Really, really dig it. Like I said, I'm an artwork guy. I'm a sucker for a good artwork, especially when it's like that painted style. I love that shit
Oh yeah,
for me. So
definitely. Well, you ready to jump into some ratings?
yeah, we can.
All right. You want to go first? You want me to?
Uh, well, you want to go first, dude?
I can. So, you know me. Like I said, I pretty much fell in love with this movie right away years ago when it first came out, or when I bought it. I think I bought it back in 2012, 2013. So it was about a year after it came out. Um, and it just worked for me. And at that time period, I was big into watching Zomcoms. I think another one that we didn't really reference, but I watched was around that time period, Automation Transfusion.
Oh God.
Uh, stuff like that. It was just very gory fun. And for some reason, around Christmas time, this film just works for me, and it's just so like when you think about Christmas films and horror and the perfect mix, this one has it for me.
Hmm.
I think if it was honestly done as a straightforward film without the filter, it would have been a lot worse for me. And I don't lean towards grindhouse effect films that often. Like it really has to have a grindhouse feel with the film. Like you can't just have one or the other. It has to be both. And this has that feeling, down to the characters, down to the dialogue, everything. Um, and I just couldn't depict one really bad thing I liked about it, or I didn't like about it, I guess you would say. Um, so just overall, I had fun. Even now, popping it in and watching it years later, it's still fun to me. So I give it a 4 star out of 5.
Nice, dude.
And it was just it just kind of, I don't know, I love it. It's a fun one.
Yeah. Right on, right on.
So what about you? What's your take?
Well, like I said, it's even talking to you that I get a little bit more appreciation for it because I could see the things that you brought up, the things I didn't even think about when I was watching it. I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. That makes sense. Um, my initial gut reaction though was, like I said, a lot of the characters, some of the characters, I don't know, man, that they weren't working for me. I wish it focused a little bit more on. Well, I wish it kind of delved a little bit away from like the cop and the janitor character going back and forth constantly all the fucking time. I was like, okay, let's go, let's go. That stuff kind of slowed it down for me, man. Because it was obnoxious almost to a point, and I'm just like I'm feeling like Tom in the background, just like I just want to get drunk and just fucking be oblivious to that. But no, like I said, it carried on with that, and then like I said, I wish there was some more of the carnage kind of in the middle. It kind of delved in, and they were doing more character stuff. Like yeah, that just didn't work for me, man. I wish it did, but it didn't. Some of the jokes didn't land for me. Some of them were really good. I think the ones that didn't land for me elevated the ones that did work for me. So the ones that were just kind of falling flat for me, like even that scene that we were talking about with the girl when she went up and smacked the dude, I fucking died. I love that scene. So good. But my initial rating was a 2.5, but I want to
Wow.
bump that. I want to bump that to a 3. I really think
Wow.
talking to you, I get a little bit more appreciation for what they were doing with some aspects. Even though still some of the characters don't work for me. Mainly the cop and
Yeah.
the perp. They didn't really work for me too much. Eddie was cool. I liked Eddie. The professor was cool. He was my favorite character. I loved his scenes because it kind of slowed down. It was really frenetic, really, really fast paced and hectic. And then when you get to those scenes, that's some of my favorite stuff. Also, because I really love the references they're doing with the movies that they're referencing. Some of
Hmm.
my favorite films of all time. When we talk about Reanimator and Day of the Dead, I love those films. So that stuff kind of worked for me. And the whole reasoning why the professor was doing what he was doing kind of also reminded me of The Void a little bit too. Um, I just thought about that. I mean, like I said, this movie was made way before The Void, so it was just one of those coincidence things. But I did get a little pick up at a little bit of that too. But I think I'm going to bump my rating up to a 3. I think that's fair. Like I said,
Nice.
I did not have a bad time with this movie at all. Like I said, I was not hating it at all. Like I said, there was some redeeming stuff here. I think with more watches over time, maybe it can bump up even more. Maybe I can see more clearly what they're doing with the character development and appreciate it more. Or maybe, it'll work for me a little bit more than it did on this viewing. But like I said, did not hate the movie at all. I enjoyed my time with it. So yeah, I'm giving it a fair 3 for right now. I'm gonna bump it up.
Nice.
I don't
Nice.
normally do that. I don't normally bump up, but on this occasion, I'm going to bump up. I'm feeling festive, man. It's the holiday season. Let's bump it up to.
Nice. Nice.
But at the today, man. I appreciate you. This was a good idea covering this movie for our holiday season. What we're doing, this is the perfect way to do it. Like jump into it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is a film that I've been wanting to watch again here lately. So I was excited to bring it to you and see what your thoughts were about watching it. So I'm glad that we finally covered it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Like I said, yeah, did not hate my time with it at all. So I don't want that to be the what the viewer or what the listeners and stuff, what they get from me. I like I said, it didn't elevate to that perfect like horror comedy for me. Something about it. It was just a little bit of a disconnect. But like I said, overall, I did enjoy my time with it. For 3, I mean, there's some movies I really, really dig that I rate a 3. So
Yeah. Right on. Well, it's awesome though.
yeah, appreciate
Yeah.
this suggestion, man. That was a good one. Like I said, this was a good way to start it out.
Oh yeah. And possibly gonna do Christmas Evil next.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly. Yeah. Looking forward to that. You ready to land it?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, folks, we appreciate you watching our episode on A Cadaver Christmas. If you haven't seen it, sorry we ruined it for you. And we hope that you still go check it out on Tubi. It's so funny saying that at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
make sure that you go check it out because it's not a waste. It's pretty fun. If you're looking for that perfect mixture of comedy, horror, along with the festivities of Christmas, this is right there. But folks, we also want you to go ahead and head over to our Facebook group and make sure that you get your suggestion in for our suggestion episodes. So with that, Tony, you got anything?
Nope, don't, man. Looking forward to the suggestions too. This is going to be really fun. First Christmas theme. I mean, we've covered Christmas horror before, but doing a month. This is the first time getting into it. Going to get some suggestions, stuff like that. Really looking forward to it.
Well, I believe this is the first time that we're actually doing a full themed month on the podcast for the month of December. So I think last time we only covered 2 films that I could find.
We didn't do a full month. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, exciting new territory that we're getting into.
Yes.
Try to keep it going with the themes and stuff like that around the holidays and stuff like that, because it's really cool, man. Like I said, when December rolls around, you get in that mode where you're just like, man, I want to watch some Christmas horror. Want to discover some new stuff. I'm always on the lookout for new Christmas horror. So if anyone out there has any suggestions for some new stuff that they've seen that possibly slipped by me or Corey, I mean, definitely throw them out there. Throw us some suggestions. We'd love to watch some different time of year.
Yeah, and definitely leave a comment. What's your favorite Christmas horror film?
Yeah, that would be here. Yeah, everybody's different opinions and
generate a conversation.
Absolutely, it always does. Always makes for a good conversation.
Definitely. Well, later, guys.
Later.